Trigger warning for blood, violence, fighting, suicide. I think those are probably all of the warnings that I need to...
This may be the wrong episode for you.
This is going to be the wrong episode for you. Picture this. A cloudless April afternoon over Tennessee. 3 FedEx pilots are at the controls of a massive cargo jet, cruising at 19,000 feet. None of them notice the 4th man silently approaching from behind. What follows is perhaps the most extraordinary battle ever waged in aviation history. 3 gravely wounded pilots struggling to subdue their attacker while simultaneously pushing a 400,000-pound aircraft to maneuvers that it was never designed to perform. So stow your tray tables, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for some extreme turbulence, because this is Final Boarding Call. Hello, and welcome to Final Boarding Call. I am your disaster-obsessed host, Alice.
And I'm Zach, a little extra reluctant at the moment. I'm being told how annoying I am trying to get an episode started. God forbid should I want to have fun.
Girls just want to have fun.
That's all I want.
Well, quick reminder to our listeners.
Please like, rate, review wherever you get your podcasts.
And subscribe.
Like, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Amen. Tell a friend. We've been getting some really...
Tell your Nana. She's bored.
God, poor Nana. This is a dark thing to share with your Nana. But maybe your weird neighbor. We'll take weird neighbors. Okay. Let's talk about some sources. Obviously...
She made this up.
What? No, I did not make this up. But this story is so wild, I don't even know if I could have made it up. This is a Mayday air disaster episode, Fight for Your Life, which was actually the second episode that I ever watched of air disasters. And this was the second episode that I ever wrote for the podcast. The first one being our pilot episode, which is still to this day one of my favorite aviation stories of all time. But this one is also crazy. Okay.
Wow, they fought for their life. I tend to just fight for my right to party.
Oh, Zach.
Well,
the good news. I was going to give you some good news here. We're finally out of the 1970s. I feel like I have told you.
We'll be back.
We'll be back. Don't worry, guys. We'll be back to the 60s and 70s. But today, it is April 7th.
2004.
1994.
Oh.
But I think that's still pretty cool. Yep, April 7th, 1994. Zach and I are a year old.
I am. You're almost.
We are in Memphis, Tennessee. At the sprawling FedEx World Hub, workers are busy sorting packages, loading trucks, and preparing aircraft for another day of global deliveries. In the early 1990s, FedEx was already a logistical powerhouse, delivering over 2 million packages daily to 171 countries worldwide.
That's more packages than I expected.
I mean, for 1994? Yeah.
It didn't even have Amazon yet.
No, correct. What are people shipping? What's even happening?
At that time, bombs, raindrop, drop top.
Oh, Zachary. Their Memphis headquarters operated like a precision timepiece, a carefully choreographed ballet of planes, trucks, workers, all moving to the rhythm of tight schedules and guaranteed delivery times, because this is FedEx and you pay a shit ton of money to get your package there on time. This ain't no USPS.
Or even UPS. Don't you know that Brown will just let you down?
Oh my God. Redacted.
Unless UPS wants to sponsor us.
Yeah. Redacted. Among the aircraft waiting on the tarmac that morning is a McDonnell Douglas DC-1030 cargo jet. All right, Zach, we love a good DC-10. We have covered many a story with the DC-10. But let's review this airplane briefly. It is a massive 3-engine wide body. It stands nearly 6 stories tall, and it stretches 182 feet in length, and it can carry up to 150,000 pounds of cargo. We are talking your Betty Crocker crock pots. We are talking all of the potpourri, all of the decorative hand towels. It's 1994. What else are people?
Was potpourri
Tupperware,
a big thing back then?
Mary Kay. Okay. 150,000 pounds of Mary Kay.
Get your eyelashes up.
Get them up. With registration number N306FE, it is scheduled for Flight 705 from Memphis to San Jose, California, loaded primarily with electronics equipment. I know. And Maybelline. No, it didn't have any Maybelline. It was...
Well, maybe it's Maybelline.
Or Mary Kay. Mary Kay. Okay. It is loaded primarily with electronics equipment. And computers back then were huge. So that's only like probably 150 computers.
Yeah. They're 1,000 pounds each.
They're massive. Okay. Walk with me through the terminal as 3 pilots make their way toward this aircraft, coffee cups in hand, flight bags slung over their shoulders. None of them were originally scheduled to be here today. The previous crew had gone just 1 minute over their 8-hour flight limit the day before. So they had to be replaced by this trio. And that 1 minute would change the lives of all of those people involved. So for the people that went 1 minute over, they are very lucky because this is not a flight I would want to be on.
Or, hear me out.
Oh boy.
Because you gave some information already, this was going to be just like the Fast and the Furious. Vin Diesel was here to steal the electronics, but the other flight crew that went 1 minute over was actually in on the plan. They were going to help get all these electronics out, and now all these other people just here to suffer a fate.
I can't wait to tell you this story.
Anyway.
Because your version is definitely more fun than what actually happened. Okay. All right, here we go. Captain
Family.
David.
And motorcycles. Family. Corona.
Okay. Captain David Sanders leads the group. At 49, he is a seasoned pilot with 20 years at FedEx under his belt.
They're paying out good.
America.
Fuck yeah.
Okay. Yes, you're probably right, Zach. I'm sure he is making decent money. He's been at FedEx for 20 years. Before joining the commercial sector, Sanders served 9 years in the U.S. Navy during the Vietnam War. His colleagues know him as a calm, level-headed aviator who takes his responsibilities seriously. With salt and pepper hair and the confident bearing of a man who spent decades in cockpits, Sanders projects quiet authority.
Love that.
Yeah, me too. Walking beside him is First Officer James Tucker. Let me tell you about James Tucker. He is 42 years old, and he is a 10-year FedEx veteran. He saw combat in Vietnam, serving 12 years in the Navy. But Tucker wasn't just any military pilot. He was an elite flight instructor who trained other pilots in aerial combat maneuvers in A-4 fighter jets.
Well, I now know why they said that they were getting this plane to do things it was never meant to do. Because these dudes knew how to dogfight.
Fucking Top Gun. It is Top Gun.
Sure.
I love it. I am here for it. You're already rooting for these people. Okay. This specialized experience knowing how to push aircraft to their absolute limits would soon prove critically important in ways no one could have imagined. Thank you, Zach, for reading out the line that I wrote. Completing the crew is flight engineer Andrew Peterson. At 39, Peterson has 5 years at FedEx. As flight engineer, he's going to monitor all the aircraft systems from his station behind the pilots, making sure everything from fuel flow to hydraulic pressure remains within normal parameters. And we now know how important that hydraulic pressure is because we had a hydraulic pressure leak in our last episode.
And then suddenly the flaps don't flap so
all
good.
of a sudden flaps are not retracting. There's retracting happening. There's not retracting happening. It's all bad. Let me explain what a flight engineer does, because we have now mentioned flight engineers multiple times, and I don't think we've ever actually discussed the role of a flight engineer, because this position no longer exists, Zach. This is a job that you can't get anymore because it doesn't exist on modern airplanes. The flight engineer is essentially the aircraft's system manager. They sit at a panel that is covered with hundreds of gauges and switches and warning lights, buttons.
Don't press the red button.
Correct. Unless you're supposed to. And they are constantly monitoring the health of engines, electrical systems, fuel systems, and hydraulics. They need to know what all these buttons do. They need to know how to read everything. If something happens, they need to know what it is and how to solve it. Yeah, in my opinion, they're like a flight superhero, because back in the day where there weren't a ton of automated systems and you needed a human to do this, that's a critically important job. Okay, so nowadays we have computerized systems that handle most of these tasks automatically, which is why you do not see flight engineers on newer aircrafts such as the Boeing 737 or the A320, which is what most people fly on nowadays. So yeah, when you are like boarding a plane and you peek into the cockpit now, you see 2 people sitting in there, and that's it. So let's go back to the airport. They're walking, they're hanging out, they're approaching their aircraft. They notice another FedEx employee waiting near the boarding stairs. Auburn Calloway is a 42-year-old flight engineer, and he is hitching a ride, which is known as a deadhead passenger. Do you love it? Do you love that that's what it's called? A deadhead passenger?
I know that your mother will love it.
I love it. This episode is dedicated to my mom, who's a deadhead. In airline terminology, deadheading means when an airline employee travels as a passenger to get to another location where they are needed for work. It's totally routine. Airlines do this thousands of times daily to position crew members where they need to be for their next assignment. I think this is also referred to as being in the jump seat. Do you know what does that sound familiar to you? Being in the jump seat? Okay, maybe not. I literally keep referring Catch Me If You Can, the movie, the phenomenal movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, but I think that's what he calls it when he's like jumping from flight to flight.
I don't know. The jump seat is just where all the flight attendants sit. So
yeah, somebody will correct me. So we've got Calloway, right? He is going to be the deadhead passenger for this flight. With his guitar case in hand, Calloway exchanges friendly greetings with the crew. Does that sound on brand for a deadhead? He's got a guitar case.
He's jamming.
He's jamming, man.
I think deadhead is a deadheading. They are making a heading to a different place, which is a dead end for them. They're not flying back.
You don't think it's based off of the world-renowned jam band, The Grateful Dead?
Nobody thinks it's based on that?
Other than me. It's not. I know it's not. Calloway isn't just any colleague catching a ride. Behind his professional demeanor lies a complex man facing personal and professional crisis. A Stanford University graduate and a former Navy pilot, Calloway appears successful on paper. He's divorced with 2 children whom he strongly wants to attend college, but his career at FedEx has become troubled. Despite being a qualified pilot, Calloway believes that FedEx has discriminated against him as an African American by assigning him only as a flight engineer. More immediately concerning, he's facing a disciplinary hearing the next day for falsifying his flight hours, and he believes dismissal is inevitable. In other words, he gonna get fired. Yeah. What the crew doesn't know, what they can't possibly suspect, is that the guitar case that Calloway carries contains no musical instrument. Inside are 2 claw hammers, 2 club hammers, a spear gun, and a knife.
You going after a manatee?
Redact it. We love the manatees. Save the manatees. And Calloway...
Save the mammaries.
And Calloway has a plan that will turn Flight 705 into an absolute nightmare. As the crew begins their pre-flight checks, Calloway's plan is already in motion. A plan months in the making and really chilling in its calculation. You got to think that Calloway is smart, right? He went to Stanford. He was a Navy pilot. This dude is pretty exceptionally intelligent. And if he were to be fired the next day, which he expects will happen, Calloway has determined that his family's financial future will be in jeopardy. He has a life insurance policy through FedEx that is worth $2.5 million in 1994 money, which is $5.3 million in today's money. God, that makes my life insurance policy look like chump change.
I know, every time you talk about how big it is, I'm like, that is not that big of a life insurance policy. But I love you, and it's more than mine.
However, like most insurance policies, it doesn't pay out if you kill yourself. So,
true that.
Suicide. I should probably be a little more sensitive when I talk about suicide.
Unaliving yourself.
Unaliving, correct. Like most insurance policies, it will not pay out in case of unaliving one's self. I don't want to get canceled on our 12th episode. I would say that this is a moderately PC podcast, but this isn't like, Insurance companies protect themselves with what is called a suicide exclusion clause that typically prevents payment if the insured person takes their own life, especially within the first 2 years of the policy. And this is literally designed to prevent people from getting gigantic health insurance policies and then unaliving themselves. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So Calloway has devised a meticulously crafted plan to crash the plane in a way that would look like an accident. If his death is ruled accidental rather than suicide, his ex-wife and his children will receive the full insurance payout. His weapons were specifically chosen with this in mind. So rather than using a gun, which would leave obvious evidence of an attack, he brought hammers that could cause blunt force trauma, similar to what a pilot might experience in an airplane crash. So he is only bringing weapons to use that could be mimicked if a plane goes down. On a violent plane crash, victims often suffer head injuries from impact. So if he killed the crew with the hammer and then he crashes the plane, the investigators might assume that the injuries happened from the crash itself. The spear gun, let's talk about...
That one's questionable.
Let's talk about the motherfucking spear gun here. So that serves as a backup weapon.
Just in case.
Unlike a firearm, it won't cause sudden decompression if fired inside a pressurized aircraft. So that's something really interesting to think about. When there's a breach in an aircraft's fuselage at high altitude, the pressurized air inside rushes out violently. Right, so this is something that we experienced in our first episode when the windshield blew out, and then all of a sudden it was like hurricane sucking tornado winds. So a bullet hole could cause a very dangerous situation, but a spear wound wouldn't create the same risk.
That's fair.
It's fascinating to think about. In the days before the flight, Calloway had methodically prepared. He transferred over $54,000 in securities and cashier's checks to his ex-wife, roughly $114,600 in today's money. This financial move is clearly meant to provide immediate funds for his family while they wait for an insurance payout. He left a note for his ex-wife describing the author's apparent despair, and that is a quote from Mayday Air Disasters, which investigators will later find. In the morning of the flight, he carefully placed his will and testament on his bed where it would be easy to find after his death. Now, here's what's interesting. If he wants this to look like... And I've thought about this because I thought about this while I was watching the documentary, and then I thought about this again when I was writing. If he wants this to look like it is not a suicide, it seems odd to leave a note that is filled with despair and like a copy of your will on your bed. That just feels a little like...
Just in case.
But I think all of us, including the listeners, are probably like, Especially for something that's so well thought out. Like, he thought about how to make it look like it is an accident and compression in the fuselage. And also, here's a suicide note. Oh boy. A critical part of Calloway's plan involves disabling the cockpit voice recorder, the CVR.
Smart.
Yep. Also, I know this guy is smart. This device records all conversations in the cockpit, and if he's going to attack the crew and make it look like an accident,
It can't be heard.
Amen. There cannot be evidence of an assault happening. When flight engineer Peterson boards the plane that morning and begins his pre-flight check, he notices something unusual. The circuit breaker for the CVR has been pulled, cutting power to the device. A circuit breaker is like a safety switch that cuts electrical power when there's a problem. It's similar to breakers in your home's electrical panel, right?
You just turn a section off.
Yeah, like in our house, if you try to have something going on the microwave and also have our laundry machine going at the same time.
Not anymore.
It'll pop a breaker.
I fixed it.
Well, we live in a very wonderfully old house. Anyway, it's very similar to that. So Peterson is obviously very confused as to why this happened. However, he just
Flips it
resets.
back.
Yeah, he literally just says, okay, and he just resets it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Later, Peterson notices. I just said laterson.
I heard you.
Later, Peterson notices that the breaker has popped out again. Once more, he resets it. But you guys, get this. They're not popping on their own. It's actually Calloway doing it. Bet you didn't see that coming, Zach.
Yeah, not at all.
Okay, so no, it's him trying to disable the CVR. As the crew completes their pre-flight checks, they notice Calloway's presence in the cockpit. While it isn't unheard of for a deadheading passenger to be in the cockpit, it is still considered unusual. The crew, however, has no reason to suspect hostile intent, because why would you assume that a coworker would have a bunch of fucking hammers in his guitar case? Yeah. Calloway even makes small talk, showing his guitar case, the case obviously that's holding all the crazy-ass weapons, that will soon turn this routine flight into a desperate struggle for survival. At approximately 3 p.m. local time, FedEx Flight 705 is cleared for takeoff from Memphis International Airport, with Captain Sanders at the control. The plane climbs normally into the clear spring sky, and about 20 minutes after takeoff, it reaches 18,700 feet. And that is when Auburn Calloway makes his move.
What you got?
It's about to get fucking nuts in here, Zach, and I feel like this episode is really going to speak to you because it's about to be...
I want to be the hero in something.
It's about to be fucking Fight Club in this flight. All right, here we go. The cockpit of the DC-10 is bathed in afternoon sunlight as Flight 705 continues its climb through 19,000 feet. Would you be mad if I left your fart in?
No.
About 26 minutes after takeoff, the flight crew is carrying on a casual conversation, the kind that happens thousands of times daily in cockpits around the world. Captain Sanders is in his left seat, and First Officer Tucker is in the right seat. And Flight Engineer Peterson, like we stated before, is where the flight engineers, where the flight engineers sit, behind them. And he's monitoring the aircraft system. This is literally so normal and just standard. This phase of flight, the climb, is usually a relatively calm period after the busy work of takeoff, where you need to do all the pre-flight checks and coordinate with air traffic control. So the aircraft steadily ascends to its cruising altitude, which is typically between 30,000 and 40,000 feet for a jet like the DC-10. Unbeknownst to them, Calloway has gone ahead and opened up
his hammer.
So I pulled out my gun. Yes, he pulled out his hammer from his guitar case, and he is quietly approaching from behind. So he didn't just get out the hammer. He got out every single weapon. On a cargo aircraft like this in 1994, there is no locked cockpit door because this was pre-9/11. So you could just open it if you wanted to.
So I opened the door.
Yeah, he did. What happened next is sudden and absolutely brutal. Without warning, Calloway enters the flight deck and attacks Flight Engineer Peterson with a hammer, striking him in the head. The blow fractures Peterson's skull and severs his temporal artery, which is a major blood vessel that runs along the side of the head near your temple, for people that don't know. And it is important and very bad to have severed. Blood immediately begins spraying across the cockpit as Peterson slumps in his seat. I should have given some sort of trigger warning on this episode. I'm not used to doing that, but I'll insert it into the beginning of the episode. Before the others can react, Calloway turns his attack on First Officer Tucker and Captain Sanders, raining down hammer blows on both men. He is using a claw hammer. Now, Zach, do you know what a claw hammer is?
Yeah. It's a regular hammer that most people would picture as a hammer, and it has two prongs coming off the backside.
Yeah, and what are the two prongs usually used for if you're not a psychopath?
Removing nails.
It is.
Or if you are a really good carpenter, for actually evening up boards before you nail them in. You can make them perfectly level that way.
Wow. Look at my carpenter husband over here. Correct. So that is what a claw hammer is typically used for. It's a very ordinary construction tool. However, if you're smashing it into a human, it becomes a devastating weapon.
Is he using claw side or hammer side? Just trying to get graphic for our viewers.
Yeah, I don't know, but I would imagine probably claw side.
It'll do more damage.
It
Actually,
wasn't
I bet
specified.
not, because then it would probably get stuck in the skull.
Yeah, maybe not. I will say it was not specified in the documentary that I watched. And I think that because the only witnesses to this
are the pilots,
and it was a surprise attack, they probably don't know which side. They just know that they were being violently attacked by a hammer. The violence is extreme. Both Peterson and Tucker suffer fractured skulls, with blows to Tucker's head driving shards of bone into his brain. Tucker is temporarily unable to move or react, but remarkably, he actually remains conscious throughout, which is crazy. Captain Sanders would later report that during the beginning of the attack, he could not discern any emotion from Calloway, just simply a face and his eyes. This chilling description speaks really to the calculated nature of the assault. Like, this man had fully exited the emotional chat.
Yeah, he was just, I have to do this thing, so I'm going to do it.
When Calloway pauses his hammer attack, Peterson and Sanders begin to get out of their seats to go after him. So Calloway leaves the cockpit momentarily, but he returns with the spear gun, threatening everyone to sit back down. This is where one of the most extraordinary aspects of this story begins. Despite having a loud ringing in his ear, being unbalanced and dazed from his brutal head injury, and losing blood rapidly from his severed artery, Peterson, who is our flight engineer, grabs the spear gun by the spear itself between the barbs and the barrel, which is crazy.
Props.
Yeah. The sharp angled barbs at the tip of the spear are designed to prevent it from pulling out easily once it's penetrated a target. I think most people can picture a spear gun, but Peterson grips the weapon anyway, fighting through what must be excruciating pain. Meanwhile, Tucker, severely injured, but drawing on his Navy combat flight training, takes control of the aircraft. So this is the guy who taught at basically the Top Gun fighting school. What he does next is absolutely unprecedented in commercial aviation history. And I want us to keep in mind the size of this aircraft.
Does he do a barrel roll?
He's about to do some cool ass fucking shit, Zach, yeah. This one might be fun for us to just watch after, because in air disasters, they recreate this, what the flight does. I'm going to do my best to describe it for you and for the people. Oh, you guys, this guy's such a badass, balls of steel. Tucker pulls this enormous plane into a sudden 15-degree climb, throwing Sanders, Peterson, and Calloway out of the cockpit and into the galley. The unexpected G-forces from this maneuver send the men tumbling backwards. To understand how extreme this is, normal climbs in large aircrafts are typically 2 to 5 degrees.
You still feel that when you're taking off?
Yeah, 5 being like a pretty steep takeoff. 15-degree climb is so steep, especially for an aircraft of this size, and it creates forces similar to what you'd experience on a roller coaster.
Heck yeah. 4 to 6 Gs.
Then, to try to throw Calloway off balance, Tucker puts the plane into a steep left roll, almost on its side. This rolls the men along the smoke curtain onto the left side of the galley. The smoke curtain is a barrier that separates the cockpit from the cargo area, because this is a cargo plane. So think of it as this heavy curtain that is designed to contain smoke in case of fire. By doing this maneuver, Tucker is essentially using the plane's momentum and physics to throw their attacker off balance and buy some time.
Somebody's packages were broken.
Yes, but this is so crazy to think about because Tucker has bone fragments in his brain.
No matter.
He's like, what? He is experiencing, I'm sure, brutal, excruciating pain, and then also neurological impairment, and he is still able to do this.
I just think you don't feel pain when you're trying to fight for your life.
It's crazy. The idea of using the plane as a weapon against your attacker, that could be the third Top Gun movie, because that is fucking cool. However, the struggle is far from over. Eventually, Tucker rolls the plane almost upside down at 140 degrees.
Hell yeah.
Hell yes. To give you a sense of how extreme this is, modern commercial aircraft are rarely banked beyond 30 degrees. 30 degrees is, ooh, we are really turning. And 45 degrees is used in emergency situations.
Well,
At 140 degrees, the plane is past vertical, meaning that the wings are more than perpendicular to the ground.
180, it's upside down.
Yes, yes. This is a jumbo jet, a 6-story friggin' megalodon airplane.
Yeah, but how cool are you to be the only person to have flown one upside down?
Like, this guy's my fucking hero. I love him. Love Tucker. Okay. Obviously, it probably goes without saying, but the DC-10 is not designed to operate within those flying parameters. What he's doing is way outside the user manual. The structural stress on the airframe during these extreme maneuvers could very well lead to some catastrophic failures, such as the wings or the fuselage literally breaking apart from the G-forces. So with the plane nearly inverted...
We're inverted.
Was inverted. Oh, man. Calloway, Sanders, and Peterson are pinned to the ceiling by gravitational forces. During this extreme maneuver, Calloway manages to wrench his hammer hand free and hit Sanders in the head again. I know. Tucker's response is to put the plane into a steep dive. This pushes the men back to the smoke curtain, but now the aircraft itself is in danger because it was fine before. No, but now it's actually really bad. At a speed of 460 knots, which is around 530 miles per hour, hella fast, the plane's control surface begins to flutter so much that they become unresponsive due to the disrupted airflow. So the flutter is a dangerous aerodynamic phenomenon where parts of the aircraft, particularly control surfaces such as rudder, elevators, the things that help you like steer and control altitude, they begin to vibrate rapidly in the airstream, similar to how a flag whips really violently in strong wind. If it is severe enough, flutter can lead to structural failure, literally tearing an airplane to pieces. Tucker also begins to sense what's called a mock tuck, which is an effect as the airflow over the wings approaches the speed of sound.
Sick.
Motherfucking Top Gun right here. Okay. This occurs when airflow over parts of the aircraft reach supersonic speeds, even though the aircraft itself is still subsonic, causing the nose to pitch down uncontrollably. The DC-10 was never designed to approach these speeds. It's like trying to drive a family sedan at Formula One racing speeds.
Give it a go.
The throttles are at full power, increasing the speed of the aircraft to dangerous levels. Tucker manages to pull back the throttles to idle, slowing the plane and pulling it out of the dive. So that's good. We are not mock tucking. As the DC-10 levels off at 5,000 feet, Calloway manages to hit Sanders again, nearly knocking him unconscious. Sanders is quickly losing strength, and Peterson is bleeding profusely from his ruptured temporal artery, and he is going into shock. So he is in danger right now of organ failure and death. Two things that are bad.
Yeah, they're less than ideal.
Yeah, they're not great. In spite of his diminishing strength, Sanders grabs the hammer out of Calloway's hand, and he begins striking back.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, Sanders. This guy's also a Navy pilot. Like,
Yeah, sounds like all four of them were.
Vietnam.
Yeah.
This dude saw Nam.
Back in Nam?
Yeah.
Or Nam? However you prefer to say it.
No, he is not about to go out this way.
Namaste. Beating the brakes off this dude.
When the plane is completely level, Tucker alerts Memphis Center. That's the air traffic control facility responsible for managing aircraft in the region that they're in. And he informs them about the attack, and he requests a vector back to Memphis. So vector in aviation terms is simply a direction.
Direct path right back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how did you know that?
I'm a smart cookie.
God damn, you are. I love that big brain of yours.
That's why my head's so big.
Zach does have a large head that's filled with brains and hot air.
Plenty of that.
Plenty of that. Okay, so he requests 1, ambulance. 2, armed intervention, which to air traffic control is a SWAT team. Which is
Every time? Is there never just a regular like police type of situation?
I don't know if there's a code for that, but
You have to have
armed,
some serious planning to be trying to mess with a plane like that, so
Yeah, he wanted the works.
Yeah.
There's a maniac with a friggin' spear gun.
shoot on sight.
Well, through sheer determination and extraordinary courage, the flight crew eventually succeeds in restraining and disarming Calloway. With their attacker momentarily under control, Captain Sanders takes control of the aircraft from First Officer Tucker, who by this time is paralyzed on the right side of his body and has lost his sense of touch because there's bone in his brain.
It can be removed.
Like, the fact that these 3 people are doing anything is such a testament to the human will to survive. I think it's just really incredible. You would have blended in and done very well with this flight crew. I feel like you guys would have done great. You now, not you at 1 year old. Okay. Tucker goes back to assist Peterson in restraining Calloway. So now we have Captain Sanders, who is the one that is in the cockpit. He is flying the plane. We have our first officer, Peterson, and Tucker, who is the badass that's been flying this plane. They are now going back to restrain Calloway. Thank God.
And kick him a couple times.
Woof. Sanders communicates with air traffic control, preparing for an emergency landing back at Memphis International Airport. Meanwhile, the fight with Calloway...
It's not over.
It's not over. It's fucking nuts. Oh my God. Yeah. He didn't just sit in the corner and be like, oh, sorry about that, guys.
Work.
My bad. No. He's still fighting every chance he gets. But let's talk about Captain Sanders attempting to land this fucking plane while he is very injured.
Yeah.
He's taken multiple blows to the head with a hammer. The situation facing Captain Sanders as he prepares to land is damn near impossible. Zach, the aircraft is fully loaded with fuel.
Heavy.
And a fuck ton of computer equipment.
Yeah, it's a lot to slow down.
Yes. Approaching Memphis too fast and too high for a standard landing. At 35,000 pounds over its maximum designed landing weight, which I actually didn't know that aircraft had until this episode, like when I was studying this. But
yeah, I'm sure they have to set up the flight for this much fuel burn off and make it this weight.
Yes, well, we had that. I don't remember what it was, but we talked about dumping fuel, a flight that had to dump fuel to make a landing. Do you remember that?
That was an early episode.
Yeah, I can't remember if that was a aviation news roundup or something else, but there was a flight that we talked about where they had to dump the fuel, and that's because of these maximum landing weights. So they are 35,000 pounds over maximum landing weight, and the DC-10 risks breaking up upon touchdown. The plane's gonna fucking just...
Yeah, you can't set down that gently with that much extra weight.
Yes. To understand why this is so dangerous, think of landing weight like the stopping distance of a car. A heavily loaded truck is going to need more time to stop than an empty teeny car.
Yeah.
And I'm traveling at the same speed. Aircraft have maximum landing weights because the landing gear, the brakes, and the aircraft structure can handle only so much stress. It really makes sense. Sanders requests to land on the longer runway at Memphis, which is 36L, and we recently learned what
the left.
Yes, the L means the left runway when there are parallel runways. Memphis has multiple runways, and pilots identify them by numbers that correspond with their magnetic compass heading. Mm-hmm. I totally forgot about this. Obviously, you got to think I've written 60 episodes. But yes, the runways correspond to the magnetic compass heading plus LRC for left, right, center. Holy shit, guys.
So what, they're heading like 36 degrees north? Is that what they're saying?
Don't ask me to go into more detail because I genuinely don't know. This is blowing my mind because I completely forgot about it because I wrote this many months ago. But now I'm really excited. Okay. All I know is that it's the magnetic compass heading. I don't even know how to read a compass, but compass heading.
This is the woman that can barely drive around our own block that we've lived here for years.
But I can drive real good on a racetrack. He's going to need every single foot of runway possible because 35 pounds over is bad. Meanwhile, the cockpit instruments are splattered with blood. And Sanders himself is fighting to stay conscious from his own severe head injuries. The plane's ground proximity warning system begins blaring warnings. And we know what that is. The ground proximity warning system. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure we discussed that in our episode about St. Martin.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were about to hit the water. Okay.
We talked about it in more than that, though.
Yeah.
We also talked about it in the Everglades.
Yeah, but nobody was there to hear that one.
True.
Okay. So the automated system is designed to alert pilots when they are descending too quickly or are too close to terrain or they are approaching the ground in an unsafe configuration. It's like having a computer constantly calculating whether your descent path will safely clear all obstacles. Sanders, drawing on his decades of flying experience, and thank God he has that, he has to ignore these warnings because he knows that what he's doing is completely outside normal parameters.
Everybody's freaking out. It's like, we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
But it's necessary because there's no other fucking option.
Yeah. When you're in that kind of pain and that kind of situation, you can't circle around and try again. You get down.
Dude's got to land the fucking plane.
Yeah.
Using a series of sharp turns that further test the DC-10 structural limits, Sanders lines up with the runway. Every single movement causes pain to shoot through his injured head, but he maintains focus on the critical task of landing this damaged aircraft with an injured crew and a violent attacker on board.
Who's still on the loose a little bit.
Yeah, and he has no idea what's happening back there because he is fully focused on flying the plane. So, he just has to trust that it's fine.
We're getting there.
It's fine. Against all odds, Sanders executes a safe landing on the runway. The DC-10's tires smoke like crazy. They screech as they make contact with the pavement, and the aircraft absolutely shudders as reverse thrust and brakes are applied to slow its momentum. So that reverse thrust is when the engines redirect their exhaust forward instead of backwards. And it's that feeling after a plane kind of lands where you get sucked. You're like, whoa, whoa. That moment, the whoa moment.
Yes, that's the one.
I don't know how to explain it. It just, everybody knows it when you fly because we've all felt it. Anyway, Zach, the landing is a success. The plane is down.
Good.
And like good down, not bad down. By the time they touch down, Calloway is actually subdued.
And I was sitting here wondering.
I know, you were so excited.
If this dude got shot by the police, does his life insurance pay out?
Oh boy. Redacted. Okay.
I'm just saying, his family doesn't need to suffer just because he sucks.
That is true. That's true. Yeah, we're going to keep talking about him and figure out what happens to him. Emergency personnel and police rush to the aircraft, entering via the escape slide and ladder. Inside, they find a scene that is straight out of Dexter. Mm-hmm. The interior of the galley and the cockpit is
red,
covered in blood. Equipment strewn about from the struggle, and 3 severely injured crew members are barely able to stand. Calloway is arrested, and along with Peterson, Tucker, and Sanders, he is taken to a nearby hospital. The extent of the crew's injuries is severe. Are you ready for this?
Break it down.
We haven't heard injuries like this from our first episode, so let's do this thing. First Officer Tucker's skull is fractured on the left side, causing major control problems in his right arm and his right leg. Calloway also dislocated Tucker's jaw, attempted to gouge out one of his eyes, and stabbed him in his right arm.
Luckily, he couldn't feel it. You asked for commentary.
Okay. Captain Sanders has suffered several deep gashes in his head, and doctors have to sew his right ear back in place. Flight engineer Peterson's skull is fractured, and his temporal artery is severed, an injury that absolutely would be fatal without prompt medical attention. The aircraft itself has incurred $800,000 worth of damage, which is the equivalent of $1.6 million in today's money.
Oh, just an even double.
It's worth pausing here to fully appreciate what these men did. Like, holy shitballs. That's crazy. That's an insane thing. You wake up for the day, you go to your job, all of a sudden there are hammers smashed into your head.
Son of a bitch, quit. It's like a gnat at a barbecue.
They were facing an attacker who was not only physically strong, but he was really determined to kill them and crash the aircraft. Like, he had everything to gain from them dying. Whew. Okay, let's talk about what the fuck happens to Calloway, because this is crazy. In the aftermath of the attack, Calloway pleaded temporary insanity in his trial. His defense team tried to argue that he suffered from a psychological breakdown. However, the evidence of premeditation was pretty overwhelming, specifically from packing weapons in a guitar case to the financial transfers to his ex-wife, and then the bizarre placement of the will staging. On August 11th, 1995, Auburn Calloway was convicted of attempted air piracy.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's a fun one.
Yeah. And interference with flight crew. I would be mad that he was not also convicted with attempted murder. However, he was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences in federal prison. So, same but different.
I want that to mean something, but you remember the time that I told my dad and I talked to you about that guy that was robbing banks at the company that we worked for?
Yeah.
Literally given over 1,000 years. And like, that's much more than 2 lifetimes. How is robbing banks more than this?
Well, I don't know if that guy, do you know if he's ever eligible for parole?
Never.
Okay, so the same thing happened here. So he is serving 2 consecutive life sentences in federal prison, and because it's a federal sentence, he is automatically not subject to parole. So one of my favorite podcasts, Love Murder, which I've told people about before on this show, but truly so good. They call this an LWOP, life without parole.
Oh.
So he got LWOP'd big time. He will spend the rest of his life behind bars, and as of 2025, he remains imprisoned at the United States Penitentiary Coleman 1 in Florida. I'm just sorry, I'm not super familiar with penitentiaries.
He got to retire to Florida for this.
He's in Florida. Maybe they don't have air conditioning.
Yeah, honestly, humid ass fucking jail.
Yeah, that sounds
great.
Horrible. Terrible. For the crew of Flight 705, the attack did end their flying careers. Due to the severity of their injuries, none of them were ever recertified as medically fit to fly commercially.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Especially brain injuries.
100%. 100%. Like losing feeling in half of your body. Yeah. Bone fragments in your brain. Like there were some extremely severe injuries involved in this.
But luckily, none of them were brand new guys that they probably got pensioned out, lots of money for it.
Well, let's talk about this because just because you are not medically certified to fly commercially.
Oh, they were flying privately, huh?
There are always ways to get back up in the air. So in aviation, pilots must pass regular medical examinations to maintain their licenses. And their injuries were so severe that they couldn't meet the strict medical standards required for commercial flight operations. First Officer James Tucker suffered the most severe long-term effects. The hammer blows to his skull caused permanent neurological damage. He experienced right-sided weakness and had to relearn how to walk and talk. And he underwent multiple surgeries to repair his skull using acrylic plates. And how insane is it that this badass motherfucker was able to do those crazy maneuvers? Like, Tucker is so cool. I would love to shake his hand. Despite these challenges, Tucker's spirit remained unbroken. By 2002, although he couldn't fly commercially, he had recovered enough to return to recreational flying in his personal aircraft, which is a Loscom, an 8A, which is a small single-engine plane that was much more manageable with his physical limitations. On May 26, 1994, the Airline Pilots Association awarded David Sanders, James Tucker, and Andrew Peterson with gold medal awards for heroism, the highest award a civilian pilot can receive. Their actions that day have been studied studied as a case of extraordinary airmanship and courage under extreme circumstances. So what's really cool is that Tucker's background as a Navy fighter pilot, right, allowed him to execute maneuvers that would normally only be attempted in fighter jets.
Yeah. Really, you just pictured that any other crew would have just died.
100%. That's exactly it. Like, this crew was suited to handle this, which is crazy. And it's really shitty that it happened to them, but man, they are badasses. Okay, so get this. As for the aircraft, let's talk about the aircraft because she also went through some crazy trauma. It was repaired after the incident and it was returned to service. In 2008, it was upgraded to an MD-10, which eliminated the need for a flight engineer, which I mentioned earlier in the song. Jobs. They took her job.
AI is coming for you.
Yeah. The plane continued to serve in the FedEx fleet until December 31st, 2022, when it was retired after 37 years of service.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's currently stored at Victorville Airport in California, where it awaits scrapping if anybody wants to just go and save it. I don't know what you'd do with a gigantic, now it's a MD-10, but I think it'd be fucking cool. No, let's save this airplane.
No.
But. Okay.
Well, you picture even, call it 200,000 pounds. The scrap prices are pretty down low. We could probably buy it for scrap prices. I think scrap right now
Are we in? Are we buying this airplane?
I think scrap right now is somewhere like $18 a ton.
I'm just saying, if this thing is as big as they write about, it's bigger than our house. we could thrive. Okay. So let's talk about security measures for airline employees, because some of you might be out there saying, how the fuck does somebody board a plane with a spear gun? Like, how did that happen? Okay, let me tell you. Crew members and employees had previously enjoyed relatively easy access to aircraft. And this incident really highlighted the potential risks that security experts call insider threats, which is dangers posed by people who already
understand.
It is important to note that incidents where, people that work for the airlines are able to get into the cockpit and somehow sabotage, and that's really the word to use, sabotage a flight, very rare. Very rare.
Yeah, but you have to picture that you're sending this person somewhere to face disciplinary action when they have full access. Like, you really need to revoke all of those.
Yeah, that's true. In the air disasters documentary that I watched, First Officer Tucker reflected on the experience with remarkable humility. We were just doing our jobs. We did what we had to do. We're here, and it's a very good feeling.
Well, this is going to get redacted, but they didn't do their jobs. The packages were late.
And that's the story for today. If you enjoyed this episode,
please like, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
We're also on the social medias. So go ahead and join us at Final Boarding Call Pod on Instagram. And then we have a Facebook discussion group, et cetera, on Facebook.
Make recommendations. Tell us about a story that you heard.
Please.
And we have a lot of episodes that we are going to shuffle through at random, but if something really cool pops up because of a recommendation, we will absolutely give you a shout out when we record it.
Absolutely. Haley, I think we'd send you a sticker. All right. Zach, did you like this story?
I liked this story.
I actually really thought you would. This one kind of reminded me of you.
I'm a diehard kind of guy. I love dramatic situations.
This was it. High stakes.
I love a good scrap. Okay.
Yeah, this is cool. This is scrapping with the plane at 140 degrees.
As they say in Letterkenny, I'd have a scrap.
Oh my goodness gracious. All right, folks, join us next time when we will be exploring another transportation disaster story. Until then, remember to stow your tray tables, fasten your seatbelts, and prepare for the unexpected, because not every trip reaches its final destination.
Goodbye.
Picture this.
Please like, rate, review wherever you get your podcast.
I hate this game that we play right at the beginning.
If you don't want me to participate, just say that.
Not one of these episodes, I'm going to leave this in so people can hear how hard it is for me to start the episode.